Hello and welcome to This Is What Came Out of Me, a podcast about anything and everything, but mostly pop culture from movies, TV, podcasts and YouTube. In each episode I talk about things that have grabbed my interest and things that I think that you out there in the big wide world might be interested in. I'm Sierra Kilo Bravo. Let's get into it. We've got a few things to talk about today, across the spectrum of my interests. First up is a new podcast subscription for me that goes by the name of The Counter-Revolutionary. Full disclosure, this is put out by a friend of mine, so this recommendation might be a bit biased. But hey, this is my podcast. If you don't like it, start your own and talk about whatever you want. You're not my real mum. So, what is The Counter-Revolutionary about? From the website. The Counter-Revolutionary podcast is a weekly podcast covering current events, culture and politics from a Christian, dare we say, counter-revolutionary perspective. Anyone who knows me will know that I'm not religious in any way, and if you are the same, don't be put off by the mention of the Christian perspective there. It really only forms a small part of the show, with the main focus being looking at recent items of news and breaking them down and discussing the component parts. For example, the episode 4 show notes read as follows. Former Google employee James Damore was fired last week after a memo he wrote recommending Google could improve its gender diversity by embracing science and welcoming diversity of ideas was leaked to the public. We break down what really happened and expose the hypocrisy among the progressive left as it seeks to mischaracterize James's memo, assassinate his character, and deny the science behind his ideas. And that is precisely what is done, and it's done with precision. I came away from that episode 4 understanding the contents of that memo much better than before, and how some people's reactions to it were completely unjustified. It really is a good listen. So if you want to have a listen to a good review and examination of current news events, I highly recommend you check it out. The links are in the show notes. So what else has been of interest this week? Well, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, I'm sure you are absolutely pumped like I am for the last couple of episodes of Season 7 to come out. There is a YouTube channel called Garo Studios that I've come across, and the creator makes compilation videos of popular TV shows and movies, and his recent release was excellent. It was called Jaime Lannister, Oathbreaker. If you're a fan of the show and are up to date with events up to Season 7 Episode 4, then I recommend you have a look. His combination of music with Jaime's speech about breaking his oath to the Mad King is just fantastic. He uses clips from all across the seasons, and as someone who makes videos cut together from various sources as a hobby, I really appreciate the amount of work that's gone into it. Check it out, it's fantastic, and I'm sure it'll get you even more amped for Game of Thrones. Some good trailers have come out in the past week or so as well. Netflix has been putting out some good stuff recently, and they're starting to attract some big names to their productions. For example, we have a Will Smith movie on the way. But a new trailer was released this week featuring Glenn Close, Willem Dafoe, and Noomi Rapace called What Happened to Monday. Set in the future where childbirth is tightly controlled, the story follows what I can only assume are a group of clones, each named after a day of the week. Based on the title, I'm guessing something happens to the one called Monday. It looks to be a good sci-fi action and something that I think we'll check out when Netflix releases it. 6 Days looks to be a good thriller based on the true story of the Iranian embassy siege in London in 1980. I like movies that are based on true stories, especially when they're well put together, and this could be a good solid drama, much like the movie Detroit that I mentioned a couple of episodes ago. I'm getting shades of the movie Munich from this one too, and since I really enjoyed that, this one is definitely going on the list. Lastly, there's a good looking period piece coming soon in the form of The Limehouse Golem. This stars Bill Nye, the actor, not the scientist, and Bill Nye is an actor that I always enjoy watching, and the type of actor who looks right at home in 1800s London. I always like a multi-layered mystery, and this might just tick those boxes. Probably not a theatre movie for us, but definitely one to keep an eye out for on DVD or Netflix. To finish today, I want to give you a review of a book I finished recently called Escape from Camp 14. I heard about this book on a podcast and it immediately piqued my interest. It's the story of Shin Dong-hyuk, reputedly the only known prisoner to have escaped from a total control zone grade prison camp in North Korea. It's written by Blaine Harden and is based on his interviews with Dong-hyuk years after his escape in 2005-2006. It's a fascinating book and gives a glimpse into this odd and very scary part of the world. The book opens with him witnessing the execution of his mother and brother, and the gut-wrenching moments just carry on right from there. From him realizing that it was because of him that his mother and brother were executed, to his torture and struggle to survive in the camp, a very intriguing and horrific insight is given into his life story. I did find it to be a very odd read, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was that made me feel that way. I mean, the writing flows and it's very easy to read. I think it only took me about 2 weeks of train commutes to get through. And the subject matter is very engaging, but something just didn't gel with me. In the end, what it was, I think, and this is going to sound awful, I think it was that Dong-hyuk sounds like a real a-hole. But at the same time, this was one of the intriguing aspects of the book. The guy was born in a prison camp and had no experience of what we would call normal life. Life for him consisted of trying not to get beaten, reporting others for transgressions, and basically staying alive. Everyone else was doing the exact same thing, so I can't even imagine what it would have been like to have had to live that life. And I guess that's what makes him come across as I described him earlier. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but he just lacks empathy. And in his post-camp life, he struggles to maintain relationships and regularly takes advantage of others. I mean, I guess he can be forgiven for this, having spent most of his life not being able to trust anyone. And then on top of all this, it came out after the book was published that Dong-hyuk confessed that some parts of his story were not true. As a result, a revised edition was released. This wasn't the version that I read, and rather than editing throughout the book, the author outlined the changes in a foreword. He stated that a complete revision of the book would have taken months, which makes me wonder just how much of what is in the book is in fact true. But don't let that put you off. The book is really interesting, and all of these shenanigans around it, in my opinion, just add another layer to everything. It's almost like the story keeps on giving long after you've finished it. So track it down, have a read of it, and then maybe you too can try and work out which parts of this incredible story are in fact true. That's Escape from Camp 14, written by Blaine Harden. Well, that's all for this time. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please check the show notes for links to the various things I've covered today. I love yakking about all the kind of things that we have covered today, so feel free to leave a comment and let's keep that conversation going. Until next time, I'm Sierra Kilo Bravo, and this is what came out of me.